This week, my guest is Jeff Dachis, the CEO of the Dachis Group, the world's largest social media consultancy. He's also known as one of the co-founders of Razorfish, which he took public in 1999. Today, he's betting that everything that can be social will be social. Please ask questions because today it's your show. Welcome to episode numero 5. I am your host, Jose Caballero, co-founder and chief creative officer of digital agency The Group. Every week, you ask us business, creative, tech, and marketing questions, and myself and our guest experts answer your web design questions. Every week, also, we have your wonderful chat host, Julie, and you can talk to her either via Ustream at ustream.tv/thisweek, where you can ask live questions. Ask live via YouTube at youtube.com/thisweekin. Ask live via Twitter by using the hashtag TWI Web Design. I'm on there right now, so I can see your questions. And you can ask your questions via video response or in the comments in the chat in the window below when you're looking on YouTube on the archive version of the show. And finally, my Twitter handle is at Jose Caballero. So ask questions today, please. Julie, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good. Excited about today's show.
I'm excited, and don't forget, I brought my trusty balls.
I'm actually excited about today's show.
And I'm sitting right next to you, so I have very good aim.
You're not going to miss. All right, and Julie's sitting here because our guest is going to be joining us via Skype. I want to get right into the show, Producer Rob, and I really want to introduce our guest. So let me know when we're ready here. All right. Jeff, you're the CEO of the Dachis Group, a social media consultancy. You raised $50 million from Austin Ventures and have been acquiring small and medium agencies that get it. In 1995, you founded digital agency Razorfish out of your apartment in Avenue C and took it public in 1999, 4 years later. At its height, it was valued at $5 billion. And you famously preached that everything that can be digital will be digital. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I'm really excited to have you, and I'm going to start out right away with that question, everything that can be digital. Has it happened? Is everything that you predicted in the 1990s, and we were somewhat disappointed that it didn't happen right away during the first dot-com boom, but we're seeing it around everywhere. How do you feel about that?
Let's see. I'm not one to make many predictions at this point in time anymore, at least. But it seems as though a lot of the things that we talked about then, and a lot of the things that we were excited about, are now a reality. The idea that people can connect, communicate, participate, and engage in new ways. The way that mobile for one, is a reality today. Readily available bandwidth. Very, very powerful processors, longer battery life in mobile devices, and ubiquitous computing, I think, is making all the things we talked about then a reality today. So I feel pretty good about what we had said then was the truth, and now it seems to be a reality.
I agree, and I was a believer, and I'm still a believer, and it is happening slowly but surely. Our audience really loves to hear successful entrepreneurs such as yourself. And one of the questions that I get asked often is to ask how you got started. And I want to take it back to that point, to 1995 or 1994 when you started Razorfish. Can you tell us a little bit of how you got started, how you saw the trends, and what were the things that you did at that beginning point?
Let's see. Well, I've been involved in a variety of different media forms as a craftsperson, whether as a photography editor or as a layout editor or as a costumer or as a performer or as a DJ or a producer of, then primitive television. And I didn't really know what multimedia was because there wasn't multimedia. Media at the time was completely fragmented into a variety of different media silos. But we take for granted today that thing, multimedia, exists. And right around 93 and 94, media in its different forms started to converge with digital being the primary driver. Digital media was making the different forms of media, media production and then media distribution readily available. We talk about it now as the democratization of the tools of self-expression, but digital today really enabled sort of the democratization of the tools of self-expression and then the distribution of that expression worldwide. And so when I think back to 94 or 95, it was really this convergence of these trends in technology and in society and in a variety of other places that were enabling multimedia, both production and distribution, to exist. And it was something that I was passionate about. I just didn't know what it was at the time.
It's interesting because when I started at Art Center in around the same time in 94 or 93, at school and college, I didn't really know what it was, aside that I liked the blinking lights and I liked the activity of it and was gravitated towards it. Tell me a little bit about starting the company itself. You started an Avenue C at your apartment with Craig Canerick and with Oz Lublin. How did you begin getting clients? How did it begin to feel like a company as it grew very quickly over the 4 years after that?
Yeah, well, we started as sort of freelancers. Craig was able to program and code, and I was able to market and sell and run a business. And so we got together to work on that idea. And very quickly, I mean, literally right out of the gate, we had clients and were profitable. Time Warner was our first client with the New York Botanical Gardens. They were creating a portal at the time called Pathfinder. And Pathfinder needed content, and they thought gardening content was going to be popular online. And so Craig and I created the New York Botanical Gardens website. But very quickly, people found out about what we could do in the New York digital community, and we started to get work from a variety of different places. So it just sort of took off, and we were profitable from day one, and we started looking for employees as soon as we could.
You mentioned in that selling that your role was being able to sell and managing accounts. How important, and I often get asked by web designers and by designers, and even this week I was helping one of our freelancers in our network close a sale, and my conversation with the potential client was very interesting, where he felt that the conversation with me was completely different than the conversation with the creative, even though I am a creative. What does it take for you, for anyone as a creative person, to be good at sales? I think sales is a dirty word in my book in a lot of ways. I think if you focus on being awesome and really try to figure out what the client is looking for and deliver what the client needs, sales becomes it's not about selling, it's about meeting demand. The client clearly has a need, and you're clearly awesome. So if you can match your awesomeness with their need, it really isn't about selling. It's about finding those matches. And so if I was going to talk to somebody about selling, I would say don't sell at all. Be awesome and create demand for your awesomeness. I love that. There is no such thing as sales. It's just be awesome. Actually, that should be a T-shirt. Jeff says be awesome, or something like that. Thank you for that. I really appreciate that, because that's actually, I believe in that. And when I was at Razorfish and I was a young Padawan, maybe I didn't have the listening skills that I have today. And I found that listening is by far the #1 tool in sales, quote unquote. And in being awesome, you really have to listen to the customer, listen to the users.
Yep.
So let's shift a little bit towards the mid and the latter parts at Razorfish as we get farther in the story. What mistakes do you see businesses making when they hire a large web consultancy? And something to clarify for our audience, Razorfish is still around, and it's one of the top and best digital agencies in the world. And recently, I think Publicis acquired it.
Right.
What do you think are the mistakes in the dynamics between a client and an agency? And it's a question that I'm very have a special interest in, because obviously I do that for a living.
Yeah, I think clients make the mistake in thinking that what they need is just a production shop to write the code or put the graphics, in the right folders and upload them to the server. And from my perspective, at least, the good firms are providing some strategic value in trying to understand what problems the client's trying to solve, and then a wide variety of solution sets. And so I think clients make the mistake of undervaluing the high-quality firm, and I think that ends up devaluing the process and devaluing the resources that go into making something really special and really worthwhile. That being said, I think there's also been a huge amount of commoditization in the production work that goes into making websites or SEO work or social media or a variety of other digital activities. And so the good firms have figured out how to provide strategic value and move up the food chain. And I think the basic firms are still providing a high-quality production service, but that service has become rapidly commoditized.
Thank you. And that definitely, the strategic component, and one of the things that the show, and I believe, is that web design isn't about specifically, like you said, the production. It's about all the disciplines working together in tandem. And what would you say today to a web designer or a web developer or someone who's young and starting in the industry? What advice would you give them and recommend to them as providing value to the agencies that they work for?
Become better generalists. I think the thing that's missing, if somebody's just a straight programmer and they're missing UX skills or user interface skills or information architecture skills or content strategy or content design or content architecture or wireframing capabilities or the strategic business solution solving that needs to happen, I'd like to see some of the power hitters in the business be better generalists in many ways.
So you would advise someone to learn more about what the other roles in the business are?
Absolutely. Yep.
Understand the language. So out of curiosity, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Well, learn how to practice them. I mean, some of the best UI folks are also the best strategists, and some of the best UI folks are also really accomplished programmers. And so when you see that sort of cross-discipline, cross-trained individual, those are the people that I'm most attracted to when I am looking for folks. When I meet somebody with strategic skills, but then they also do a little bit of programming and they've also done some content strategy and are good at those things and putting those pieces together. Because digital work is like putting a puzzle together. It's a lot of different pieces that have to work well together, and the strong generalists who are really good in a bunch of areas are invaluable. You also need the specialists, but I think you can't just be a Photoshop jockey and get along in this business very far. You've got to have a variety of skills. You've got to have those solid content architecture skills or UX, UI skills, or you've got to be able to wireframe quickly. You've got to be able to then mock up those wireframes. So, and I don't know if I'm...
No, that's brilliant and perfect. That's actually, well, let's ask it from this point of view. And Julie, ask on the chat room if there's anyone who might have questions. I see Mark on there, and I know there's 20 people on there. Ask questions, and on Twitter, I'm actually looking at my Twitter questions for Jeff. Let's ask it from a very tangible point of view. What value, how did rate me, why was I valuable to you when I was at Razorfish, for 5 years?
Well, first of all, Jose, you are an awesome designer. And that's design with a capital D. That's right. A design thinker. That's somebody who can not only utilize the tools of the day, whether it's, Illustrator or Photoshop or whatever the, at the time, Shockwave, but design with a capital D, a thinker, somebody who solves problems. And when you solved problems, the solutions that you delivered were unique. They utilized a broad palette of design language. Your choices of palette were specific and purposeful and meaningful to the overall solution to the problem. It wasn't pretty pictures. It was a problem solved that was elegant in its delivery in every facet. And so it was always exciting to work with you because I knew what I was going to get was something not only was cool, but was so thoughtful and so precise in its thinking that it was a delight, to experience.
Thank you. That's a great review 15 years later or 10 years later. Someone in the chat room is saying that that's a pretty contradicting statement that you just made, that you should be a generalist, but then you should also specialize. And they might have not understood that you said that we need both within a company or within an agency. Yeah. But let's talk about the contradiction, and it's for the user ARNORHS. How would you pronounce that? Arnors? Arnors. And then he follows up with, well, a lot of people say that you need to focus on one thing and become the best at that. Arnor, and thank you for watching. We really appreciate it. That's definitely Arnor. Yes, I'm pronouncing it right. World of Warcraft does help. I don't know how I feel about that, Jeff, because you just said something that, and thank you, by the way, it's very meaningful. And I'm sitting here in this chair doing this with Julie and at This Weekend Network because of the opportunity that I had when I was 23 to work at Razorfish for 5 years. And all I can say is from my personal experience is that what probably made me good and successful, and you said design, that's what you started with, and that's the foundation. So what I would say is you have a strong foundation in one of the core disciplines, technology, UX, design, but then you have to know a lot because you're consulting for a lot of different clients. And you can't come in and have the same solution over and over again. Somebody criticized us recently when they looked at our portfolio as we were giving a presentation that none of it looked the same, that there wasn't a specific style that they can, give us. And I said, unfortunately, none of the solutions were the same. Or not unfortunately, but none of the clients were the same. So you can't make design that is one tone.
Jose,
any questions, Julie?
Actually, on that point, what he was just saying, I think from my perspective, if you are a great designer, as he was just saying about you, what makes you an even better, agency leader is that you understand all the needs of a UX person or a technologist. And when you are building a website, nowadays you're not just building something out of what did we say, Dreamweaver or Shockwave. There's a lot of different components that you need to know, so you don't need to be an expert in every area, but the knowledge that you have as a generalist will serve you well in speaking and communicating with your different team members, and I think that is really important to know.
Thank you, I appreciate that, and this is not about me. I want to really focus it on Jeff. And I have to ask this, Jeff, because it comes out everywhere in the Fast Company article, which everyone should read. Innovation Agents, Jeff Dachis, founder of the Dachis Group, they mention in there that you went through a lot of different different creative career tryouts, acting, singing, DJing, and at some point ballet dancing, and that always comes up. But the point I want to bring up, back to being good at a base, and then what I feel that I got from you at Razorfish, I discovered business and the fact that what we did is more than just design. And I remember the two guys that got hired from Art Center before me quit within a week of being at Razorfish because they had no idea what was going on or what language was being spoken. And that's the reason why I got the opportunity to join. And I asked myself the same question. I was like, whoa, is this a design firm? What is this? And going back to the Fast Company article, that you tried out a lot of creative things and then excelled at this, which, by the way, I think is one of the reasons why you excelled, or you excelled today, is that ability to have a very creative and strategic mind at the same time. My question is in there somewhere. You've said it before. There's a hybrid. There is this ability to understand business and design. And let's actually push it forward a little bit into social business. So if it's complex now, or if it was complex in the 90s, suddenly now we have Facebook, we have Twitter, we have a whole social ecosystem that is completely changing the landscape. Tell me a little bit about tell me what social business design is.
Right. Social business design is helping companies, by design, connect, communicate, participate, and engage with their customers, their employees, and their enterprise partners. It's really this convergence of societal trends, trends in the workforce, and trends in technology that are enabling businesses to truly, for the first time, connect, communicate, participate, and engage with their customers, their employees, and their business partners.
How is that different from 5 years ago or even from 10 years ago at Razorfish? I mean, people say the internet is about connecting, it's about engaging or about reaching your customers, but something changed between that relationship between the customer and the company or the brands with social media.
In the last 10 years, I think you've seen this, the democratization of the tools of self-expression. You've seen, the millennial generation grow up with these digital tools that enable them to connect, communicate, participate, engage, share with each other in ways that up until that point we hadn't seen. We hadn't seen people, taking digital photos and sharing them globally, worldwide, for free, ever. We hadn't seen people taking their cheap or inexpensive video equipment and taking videos and uploading them and then distributing them worldwide for free. We hadn't seen people using blogging or microblogging software craft, blogs or wordsmithing and upload them to a distribution channel and distribute them worldwide for free. That wasn't possible 15 years ago when television stations cost hundreds of millions of dollars to create, to distribute video worldwide, or radio stations or printing presses. You needed trucks. You needed, you needed telecommunication spectrum. Today, these tools really have enabled people to do a lot of communication, participation, and engagement with each other and with businesses at a very low cost, and that's what's shifted.
So the low-cost ability for anyone in a democratic sense, and we're looking at Egypt, we're looking at a lot of what's happening with different industries. One by one, industries are really beginning to shift quickly or not and suffer the consequences because of that democratization. Interesting something you said, there's the low-cost factor, but then there's the participatory aspect of it, and something that I followed the Dachis Group and read the Collaboratarium and read the blog often, and the deck that's on there, that's also on SlideShare about what social business design is, really explains a lot of things and clarifies a lot of things, especially when it comes to how networks actually kind of interact with each other. And again, it becomes complex and it can be abstract. And a user asked a question about the tools. And Simon Mestas tweeted the question, what are the main tools software of the design houses if you had to pick the top 10? And I understand that, and there's the production tools, but what's happening now in social media when you have Twitter and you need to manage it through something like TweetDeck or other tools that allow you to do that, and even the big Ping FM, you have this whole ecosystem growing around these tools to help companies manage that. It's pretty complicated. How do you manage that? I mean, people know that they need to do social media, but I look at clients very often are just like, yes, I know I need to do it, but I don't know where to start. How does the Dachis Group mitigate that?
Well, the tools, we're really going to be evolving over time, and we're technology agnostic, meaning I'm not going to advocate one set of tools over another for general business purposes. Specific businesses have specific needs. So, for instance, specific collaboration software inside a company like Jive or IBM Lotus Notes Connections or Yammer, which many people are familiar with, may be appropriate for a specific collaboration solution. A lot of people have SharePoint installed inside their companies. Externally, there's a huge number of solutions out there. And I think what you're seeing is in that ecosystem that you talk about, a real robust set of technology that's available. Some of it is feature, some of it is application, and some of it is platform. But they're all useful for different things. And in a lot of ways, there's open source on one hand, there's free web services on the other hand, there's paid seat licenses, and then there's SaaS, and there's a variety of different types of tools available. And so it's not really about the tools from my perspective. It's about, one, a company's social calibration. How willing are they to be connected and communicative and participatory and engaged with their customers or their employees? How really willing are they to connect with their customers? I mean, for the last several hundred years, businesses have been advertising at their customers. They haven't been connecting and communicating with them. And so there needs to be a shift inside the organization to move from I'm going to talk at you to I'm going to talk with you. And that shift happens both culturally, from a business's bias and willingness to engage, to business process that needs to shift. So I used to engage with my customers this way by talking at them, but now I need to shift my process and think about engaging with them. And then whichever the most appropriate tools are the ones that we would use. So to answer your question, where does a company start? Well, one, I think that most companies should start by listening. And there's a variety of opportunities out there to listen to what your employees are saying, or listen to what your potential customers or your previous customers are saying, and set up a process and a strategy in place so that when you listen to what they're saying, you can figure out what to do with that information. And you're going to hear stuff that you may not want to hear. You're going to also hear lots of stuff that you didn't know about. And then you're going to also hear some stuff that confirms what you already know. And building a process and a culture in place to deal with that information that you're hearing, and then use whatever tools are most appropriate to engage with those particular audiences, with those particular solutions, is how to go about this. And so it's a shift. It's a transformation. And I think you asked me what's different about, or what's similar about what's going on now to what was going on, sort of in the early to mid 90s, that there's a transformation at hand again here. We're really seeing businesses having a huge opportunity ahead of them to transform the way they do business from the old industrial economy of silos and one-way communications and not listening to a two-way, truly engaged, meaningful dialogue to exchange value with their constituents in the networked economy. And I'm really excited about where this is going because for the first time, businesses have the opportunity to do something truly to create value for both parties.
And not only do I believe, I'm seeing it myself in my experience with my business and shifting to my point of view. If I wanted to engage with the Dachis Group a bit and learn more about this, I know you have the Social Business Summit every year. You had it last year. Producer Rob, can you bring up either my screen or the URL for the? There you go. Can you talk to us a little bit about what that's going to be?
Yeah, each year we curate a. I like to call it a wall of sound. It's usually a full day of keynotes from what I think are some amazing speakers, really engaging the audience in a discussion around the state of social business. Where is social business today? What are the challenges? What are the opportunities? What are the threats businesses are facing? What are some of the implementation successes they've seen? What are some of the failures they've seen, and what can we learn from them? And we sort of handpick the audiences. We're doing it in 4 cities, in Sydney, in Singapore, in London, and then in Austin, Texas, right before South by Southwest. And we're curating this real dialogue on where is social business and where is it going, and what's happening today. And it's a very exciting opportunity for us to engage our audience and our constituents in a meaningful and transparent dialogue about what's happening.
And thank you for sharing that. I've learned so much from reading the Dachis Group website and from following what's going on your end. I'm really appreciative of that. And I want to say you're welcome to Simon Mestas for answering the tweet. I know we didn't go into the specifics of the tools, but we really talked about it, that it's really about listening to the customer first. The tools come second. And as a designer, that's something that we'll talk more. The URL is socialbusinesssummit.com, right? There it is right there on the screen for Arnold who's asking. I want to wrap up, Jeff, first of all, by saying thank you for your generosity and the time that you've given us today.
Thank you.
I really appreciate that. And second, by, again, letting people know that there are opportunities like the Social Business Summit. Also, Julie, next week, or actually this Thursday, we have Group School, which is here in LA. So if you need breakfast on Thursday at 8 a.m., come by for Group School. Small group, really amazing food. And it's going to be a panel talking about launching your site. Jason can't be on, but we're going to have actually an awesome person who's going to, Pete, the product manager for savings.com, how he prepares for launching, how they do the preparation. I know a lot of you out there who are open to and want to find out more about how to successfully get to that latter part of the web project. It'd be great to have you there. 8 a.m., 7:30 breakfast starts and coffee. The panel is from 8 to 9. And remember, you're asking the questions, and we're really doing it for you. So be there. It's a lot of fun, and I hope actually, Jeff, to see you at South by Southwest and potentially even come to the summit before that in Austin.
Great. We'd love to have you.
Finally, I want to wrap up. Anything else, Julie?
No, but I wanted to congratulate you. I didn't count any actuallys.
No actuallys today. You sure about that? We're going to have to watch the retake.
Maybe. None to the point where I thought it was worthy of a ball throw, unless the audience would like me to just throw a ball at you.
All right. The audience might know I say actually a lot, and Julie's meant to keep me in line by throwing stuff at me. But again, Jeff, thank you so much. I'm excited about what you're doing, and I really look forward to seeing the Dachis Group. And for all of our folks, thank you for asking the questions. Remember, ask questions in YouTube even after we air the show, and we'll answer your questions on the next show. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Jose.